Maggie McKinney, a student at the University of Michigan. I'm currently taking a class called Critical Issues in Education, which focuses on, you guessed it, the critical issues faced in the field of education. A major issue impacting thousands of students across college campuses around the world is Greek life. Although they have spent a lot of time in the spotlight lately due to recent news and Hollywood portrayals in films such as Neighbors, Greek-lettered communities have been a part of college life in America since the literal establishment of the country. In 1776, what started out as a male secret society on the campus of the College of William and Mary became Phi Beta Kappa, the first fraternity. The culture of Greek life has evolved over the last 200 years, but the exclusive societies have recently found themselves in the hot seat of the public eye, seen as more infamous and more controversial due to their impacts on campus life. When many hear the phrase Greek life, they tend to picture one of two things. First of all, they may imagine the camaraderie and participation of members, or maybe the volunteer work many Greek organizations work to better the community. An article called How Fraternities and Sororities Impact Students, or Do They, from PsychologyToday.com, says that the primary benefit of being in a sorority is the confidence it instills in its members and the strong community of female friends it forms. But on the other hand, the image of wild parties, hazing, sexual harassment, and social divides tarnish the Greek system's reputation. Well, on whichever side of the spectrum your opinion falls, it's clear that fraternities and sororities have an influence over their college campuses. So let's get into it. The potentially critical issues caused by the operation of frats and sororities, specifically the dangers and divisions they bring to the student body. According to Law Street Media's article, Does Greek Life Really Serve a Purpose on Today's College Campus?, fraternities created barriers between people of different backgrounds from their very beginning. They started out as secret societies who required their members to be Christian and white, as well as coming from the right family, who sat on a hefty amount of money. These inclusive patterns are still seen today. For example, the article, Does Greek Life Serve a Purpose on Today's College Campus?, lists fraternities who were recently called into question for throwing racist-themed parties. At Arizona State, for example, there was a thug party. Bloods vs. Crips was at Dartmouth. Colonial Bros and Navajos was at California Polytechnic State, and Duke's Asian Prime Night was another example. Obviously, these parties target different cultures, races, and ethnicities, belittling them into humorous themes and jokes. The predominant whiteness of Greek life can be seen in the sorority scene, too. U.S. News featured a piece called, At Sororities, Likeness Becomes a Likeness, which calls out the superficiality of the rushing process. It brings up the story of Kennedy Cobb, an African-American student who would have been an ideal new member to any sorority. But by the end of rush week, she was not offered a single bid, and it turns out that in the history of the entire university, only one African-American member was admitted to any of the sororities there. That's blatant discrimination. Now, it's neither fair nor accurate to assume that all Greek organizations and their members are racist, but there's no denying the trends of exclusivity seated deeply in the foundation of the Greek system. Like Matthew Huey, a University of Connecticut associate professor studying the race interactions of Greek life, says, we shouldn't think organizations originally based on exclusion would all of a sudden become more inclusive. Not only do some frats and sororities limit diversity and potentially create cultural divides on campus, they are notorious for hazing as well. An article called Does Greek Life Serve a Purpose on Today's College Campus? Points out that to build brotherhood and to prove commitment, frats will sometimes turn to physical harm. The sad truth is that this can be seen through the recent deaths of pledges like Tim Piazza from Penn State and Ryan Abel of University of Nevada, Reno. They both involved the consumption of deadly amounts of alcohol. And according to a Time article called College Students Keep Dying Because of Fraternity Hazing, Why Is It So Hard to Stop?, in the last 10 years, 33 hazing deaths involving frats have been documented. As stated by LawStreetMedia.com, many sororities haze too, but more mentally than physically. For example, I've personally heard of stories of girls having to sit on washing machines as other girls watch to see what part of their bodies jiggled. This promotes the overly body consciousness and appearance-based conformity that Psychology Today says sororities can promote. Author Alexandra Robbins writes on the mixed feelings many girls have about sororities. For every girl who emerges from a sorority with improved self-esteem, there are numerous others whose confidence have been crushed. These attitudes don't only impact students involved in Greek life, they have the potential to bring exclusivity, superficiality, and a culture of excessive partying to a campus, which poses a danger to anyone in the vicinity. Clearly, Greek life is a heavily debated concept. It has its benefits: the sense of community, the friendships, the networking perks, the community service. But as we have discussed in the last few minutes, Greek organizations can pose some major threats to their members and the rest of campus too. People have recognized these problems, however, and they're trying to come up with ways to improve Greek life, such as breaking down the social divisions it can create, increasing their diversity, and keeping students safe. The article called 3 Ways to Fix Fraternities touches on some of these efforts. One way to improve the system is to put a foot down and shut the questionable frats and sororities down. For example, after a chapter of Sigma Alpha Epsilon at the University of Oklahoma had a video of a racist chant go viral in 2015, SAE closed the chapter and got 2 students expelled, showing that they were not going to tolerate exclusive and racist ideals. And at Penn State, a Kappa Delta Rho chapter was suspended after sharing images of naked unconscious women. Also, since alcohol is a huge factor in the hazing, sexual assault, and overall party culture of many Greek chapters and college campuses, cutting the substance out entirely is another solution. Phi Delta Theta did exactly this in 1997, with a plan to ban alcohol in all of their chapters across the country by 2000. Going dry continues to result in positive outcomes for the frat. Membership has risen, average GPA has increased, and the cost of liability insurance has gone down. Some may ask why universities continue to support the Greek system, a system originally established on institutionalized racism, classism, sexism, that sadly still brings these divisions to campuses today. But really, if fraternities and sororities were completely abolished, other organizations would just develop exclusive requirements for admittance too. Maybe the problem isn't really Greek life. Maybe it's the attitude so grown into the bases of this country. To be better than others, to be superior, exclusive, divided from all the rest. Regardless, these attitudes pose an enormous threat to not only education, but to our humanity as well.